Welcome to All Tech Lansing.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Good morning.
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 We're getting ready to start. So I'm going to try to function as the MC this morning. And my name is Carla Barber, and I'm part of the Witness at the Border team that organized the Journey for Justice that we just completed last night at Imperial Beach. So even louder, I'm being told. Okay. So we left Brownsville, left Boca Chica Beach on December 3rd, and we arrived here yesterday afternoon. I'm sure that my fellow travelers are probably as exhausted as I am right now. So forgive me if I stumble on my words a little bit this morning, but it was an amazing journey. I don't know that for me personally it has all soaked in. I know it hasn't all soaked in yet. We've been kind of busy driving, organizing, traveling, and I don't think everything we saw is going to hit me until I'm back home and in a safe place. But we saw things. We saw so many things. We saw things that we will never forget. We learned a lot. We were saddened by a lot of what we saw, but I think we're also motivated by a lot of what we saw to continue the work we've been doing, to try to make some change, to try to carry our message that our immigration laws and our immigration policies are inhumane, people suffer as a result of them, and we have to continue to try to fight for some change. What we're going to do this morning is have a few people speak, some of our local hosts speak, and then we're going to march. And Nanzi, can you raise your hand? Nanzi's right here. Nanzi is going to lead us on the march because she knows where we're going to be going. I don't. But I'd like to start out by inviting Ben from Union del Barrio to speak to us and welcome the journey here to Thomas. Oh, wait a second. We're also trying to be COVID safe.
Good morning, everyone.
Buenos días.
Buenos días. Bienvenidas, bienvenidos. On behalf of Unión del Barrio, well, we really appreciate the opportunity that Malaya invited us to participate in this important journey for justice along this entire border that you all had the experience of traveling. And well, on behalf of Unión del Barrio, we welcome you here to San Diego, really in the context of what is really happening in terms of U.S. imperialist wars abroad. It's economic warfare that's taking place that is forcing people and displacing people, and that's nothing new, unfortunately. We, Unión del Barrio, see ourselves. We don't see ourselves as immigrants. We see ourselves as indigenous peoples to these lands, to this continent, and see the border as an expression of settler colonial violence that has impacted us since Manifest Destiny, since the invasion, the war, the occupation that put up this horrendous wall of death. And we call this wall of death a policy of death against our peoples because we know that its intention is to kill, its intention is to submit people to horrendous conditions of servitude. And we denounce this wall as an expression of imperialist violence against our peoples here on our land. And we say, esta es nuestra tierra, esta es nuestra lucha. So welcome. It's also important to recognize, the role that the United States has played in the displacement of thousands or millions, really, of people throughout the world first, not only its war against us as Mexicans on our own land, but also its economic warfare that it implemented through its economic free trade agreements, its wars of imperialist oppression against nations that decide to create an alternative economic future for themselves, specifically the blockades against Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua. We stand in revolutionary unity with those countries who decided on December day like these days, right, where the Bolivarian Alliance of the Peoples of Nuestra America decided for a different future for themselves. We unite with the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Nuestra America to create an economic future where people don't have to migrate. And that's what we struggle for as well. The right not to migrate, to be able to live in our nations in conditions of peace, to create, feed, clothe, house ourselves, and with the absolute right to reclaim those natural resources that belong to us, that belong to our peoples, so that we don't have to continue to serve as the material raw resources for a U.S. consumer culture that is viciously killing itself. And so for us, we believe that it is our absolute right to migrate as indigenous people from throughout this continent, but it's also our right to build economic future that is sustainable, that is revolutionary, and that is socialist. With that, welcome to San Diego, and we accompany this march to join in denouncing the horrendous human rights violations that are too rampant along this border. We do call for the abolition of the border, the settler colonial border patrol, the vicious, sick immigration and customs enforcement, the abolition of all these private prisons and the colonial prison system, and the abolishment and destruction of this border wall. That human beings put it up, and that we as human beings can also take it down. Esta es nuestra tierra. Esta es nuestra tierra. Esta es nuestra tierra. Hasta la victoria siempre.
Okay, I'd like to invite the team from Caravan for the Children to come up and speak, and they'll introduce themselves.
Hola, buenos días. I'm Gloria Romero, and I am the chair, along with my fellow co-chair, Olga Talamante, of the Caravan for the Children campaign. And on behalf of the Caravan's anchor organizations, some represented here today, Galería in San Francisco, Chicana Latina Foundation, Galería de la Raza, and Instituto Familiar de la Raza, we come here from the San Francisco Bay Area and are honored to be here in solidarity with Witness at the Border and Journey for Justice. And we thank you for making that 2,200-mile journey from Brownsville to San Isidro and to truly bear witness at the border. The Caravan for the Children, we came together over 2 years ago, and we were brought together by the children. And our purpose has been to uplift the need and the urgency to uncage, reunify, and heal the children that have been separated from their families by Trump's zero tolerance policy. And we continue to fight for migrant justice, for human rights, and we continue to hold the administration accountable, and the task force that was charged to reunify over 1,000 children that were separated from their families with their loved ones. We continue to hold them accountable and to end family separation, to end immigrant detention, and to begin to also repair the harm that has been caused, to support the recovery and the healing process of this trauma that has been caused by the government. And so we are here with you today. Continue our collective efforts for human rights and for migrant justice. And migration is a human right. I'd like to introduce Adriana, who is the executive director of Chicana Latina Foundation, to share some words.
Thank you, Gloria. I just want to echo what Gloria says, and El Hermano de la Unión del Barrio also spoke about that. We're just really proud of the caravan that came all the way from Brownsville. We were actually going to undertake a similar caravan, but during the pandemic, it just was very difficult to do it. But we are here in heart, physically, to support what's being done. As you know, immigration is a large issue, and it's an issue that's been here haunting us for a long time. I mean, the border wall is 1924, so it's going to be 100 years of this border wall. This border wall that has separated us, unnecessarily so, that has committed a lot of acts of violence. And so 2 years ago, when all this talk about immigration issues, the zero tolerance, that just, it put a hole through our heart when we started to hear about the cases of hundreds of children being displaced, separated forcefully from their families and parents, something that had not been done before. By that zero tolerance of number 45, who spoke of lies, stereotypes, fake information, to really create this animosity. And so the children were caught in the middle. And children didn't have a lot of advocates. And so we said, we have to do something about this. We have to be the voices for the kids, create this visibility that we continue to all have, so that we don't forget the kids that are still in detention centers, that don't have their parents, don't have that love, that cariño, that those home cooked meals. I just think about my kids, and I don't know if they would survive that kind of treatment, or the trauma that is created from being separated from families. And we all who work in immigration and work in immigrant communities know the impact of that trauma has. And so for 100 days with the administration, with the Biden and Harris administration, we said we need to remind folks of all the children that are still in detention centers. After that, we went to march in Washington, D.C., and we joined a huge group down Pennsylvania Avenue, fighting for the rights of immigrants, but also of the kids. After that, what happened to the kids? Well, there was a task force that was created. This task force, as we all know, was supposed to reunify, in charge of reunify. And these were some of the largest organizations in our federal government, like the Homeland Security Secretary, an organization. And so they were tasked with reuniting the kids. And in 6 months, they reunited 100 kids. 6 months. And this was some of the largest and strongest organizations of our federal government. Since September 14th of 2022, 487 children have been reunited. And it was determined that about 3,877 children had been separated, and only 487 of this task force that was tasked had been reunited. There's something wrong with this picture. And I appreciate everybody that's here advocating for the kids who do not have a voice. And it is our responsibility to be that voice for these children. Y como dice, aquí estamos y aquí nos quedamos, peleando para los derechos de los niños que están encarcelados. Es una cárcel la que están sufriendo. Gracias. Y ahorita, I'm going to pass this mic to my compañera, Annie Rivera, who is the executive director of Galería de la Raza.
I'm trying to make sure I can stay around for Christmas with my family. So pardon me. No, you're good. You're good. I want tamales and pozole for sure. Buenos dias, buenas tardes. I want to open up by, it's been shared, but acknowledging that we are an ancestral unceded lands of, I believe in this region is the Kumeya. I'm from here, I should know that. The word really well, but I just want to acknowledge that and say that, it's in that practice that we are here. We continue to care for the land, making sure that the people are also cared for. When we joined the Caravana por los Niños, we did it because this is a sickness that we have as a society. We are focusing on the current issue at hand of children that were separated because of zero tolerance, but we have to remember that has been the practice of this government, of this country, from the beginning. Separation of children, enslavement. We've seen it over and over with different communities. Let's not forget Japanese encampments that happened. So this has been the strategy of family separation. And so I really want us to think who we are as a society culturally. There's a saying that comes to mind. Tú eres mi otro yo, en la Quech. Si te hago daño, me hago daño a mí mismo. And this is how we are running this country. We're, separating families. And what really we need to be doing is thinking who we want to be as a society, caring, for each other, looking out for each other. And it's really, not only have these kids under zero tolerance have been the victims and caught in this awful human rights violations. We have an additional 23,000 children that were separated when the Remain in Mexico, Title 42 went into effect. Let's remember that these kids, these youth are in our communities day in and day out, not only being separated from their families once, but now further being victimized because there is no outlet for them to have, jobs. They come here to work. They come here to have a dignified life. They're trying to survive. The own violence that we've imposed in their governments, the reason why they're leaving. And here they are in our communities still suffering. So we have to have major reform in how we treat migrants, how we treat refugees, how we make sure that they're not just being, put in the systems of institutionalization like prisons. That's what's happening. We're feeding them into the prison system, and it must end now. It really has to end now. We're in a crisis. We did this caravan while we had a Congress that was somewhat friendly. They could have done more because setting up the task force to just simply reunify children was not enough. These children are scarred for life. For life. We have to change the culture. We have to. In the process of us starting the caravan, we understood that messaging, symbolism, iconography is so critically important for how we were going to change and how we were going to touch people, to stay in touch and to continue to push our local elected officials from the local level all the way to the federal level. It was important for us to make sure that we were working with artists. Art is healing. Art is also a human right. And that we included messaging that could transcend language. We had an artist, Paola de la Calle, who joined us in creating printmaking and creating work that was reflective of what we wanted the message for the children to be. And it was a message around documenting their journey. A lot of the colors that we used in our printmaking and the quilts that were created to document this was signifying the sky. Look at the sky. Air. These children migrated thousands of miles and walked for freedom. And we must remember that. We must remember the joy of children. We must protect that. If we're not doing that for these children and our children, something is wrong with us. So art was very important, and we want to acknowledge Paola's contributions. We believe that in every movement that we are part of, art should be a component of it. It is detrimental to our survival. And we also want to thank the space program. We have some posters of the quilt details that were made for you to take home, for you to remember, to share them, put them in your classroom, put them in your community spaces, share the story. We still need to hold this task force accountable. There are now over 27,000 children
who are our responsibility. These kids need care. They're going to forever need mental health support, living support. This is our responsibility. Let's make it happen. It's doable. And let's shut that fucking border down. Let's get it done. Let's get it done. Power to the people. Power to the people. Thank you.
Now I'd like to invite Judith Murkison from the National Lawyers Guild to speak.
Hi, everybody. Is this working?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Judith Murkison. I represent the National Lawyers Guild. Before I begin, I want to thank especially Carla, Julie, Josh, Sarah for organizing this amazing caravan, which I think, as Carla said, has affected all of us so deeply and fundamentally. So I just want to acknowledge and thank you for that. The National Lawyers Guild was founded in the 1930s as an alternative to the American Bar Association. We were the first bar association that was integrated and also had women. And we have defended all those who have resisted the U.S. government, the U.S. government's policies, and U.S. imperialism since that day, whether it be people who are McCarthy victims, the Civil Rights Movement, the Black Panthers, on up today. So that's who we are. Our motto is that people, but not just people, the beings of the earth and the earth itself are more important than profit. And that's what we are about. And I think that's what all of us are about here today. And we have always defended both immigrants and migrants. And we have always fought against U.S. policy, whether it be in Palestine, whether it be in Nicaragua, whether it be in Vietnam, wherever we have fought against U.S. imperialism and acknowledge the role that U.S. imperialism plays in this world. And, you know, I have a sign here. I also work with Haiti Action Committee, and that's why we're here. And I have a sign here, and I agree art is really important. And this is a symbol of the jitneys, called tap-taps, that exist in Haiti. And it says, Haitian refugee crisis made in the USA. And I think that we have to acknowledge it's not just that people are escaping their own governments, but their governments are made by the United States. And Haiti is one really good example. Probably people have read lately, oh, Haiti, it's a mess, it's a disaster. Why is it a mess? Why is it a disaster? People will say, oh, why? You know, these Haitians, they just can't keep, have a break, or what's wrong with them that they can't have this government? Nothing is wrong with them. No people in this world is more incompetent than any other people in this world. In fact, people who are suffering, people of color, people in Latin America, people in Asia, actually are more competent than our government, I think, because they have to deal with really bad conditions and continue to survive. Well, Haiti in 2000, since from the very beginning, people don't realize that Haiti, the Haitian Revolution of 1804, which created the first Black republic in the Americas, actually is responsible for the United States. Because if the Haitians hadn't revolted and overthrown French colonialism, we wouldn't have the Louisiana Purchase. And if we didn't have the Louisiana Purchase, we wouldn't have the U.S. So from the very beginning, Haiti has been a beacon and an example for freedom, but they had to pay for it. They had to pay the French back.
Twice.
Yeah, twice for their enslavement, which amounted to $21 billion, probably now $22 billion in today's. And so they were impoverished. They were intervened again and again by the United States. And then in 2004, in the early 90s, Jean-Bertrand Aristide was elected and then overthrown a mere 9 months later. Then he was put back into power. Then he was returned to power, but he wasn't allowed to serve his full term. He was only allowed to serve until his term was over. So then years went by, and then in 2000, he was elected again in one of the freest elections in history, and elected by masses of Haitian people. And in that 4 years, he instituted more schools, more hospitals, more housing than had happened in all the time up to then. But in 2004, he was overthrown again by Canada, the United States, France, etc. And the UN came in and occupied Haiti, and they have continued to occupy Haiti to this day. You know, people often call for the UN, but remember, the UN are just soldiers with blue hats, and they commit human rights abuses all the time, especially sexual violence. So today, Haiti is racked with complete insecurity. There's no government. The current prime minister is ruling by decree. They have weaponized gangs that are basically paramilitaries, and civil society doesn't exist. And now the U.S., which created this situation, and Canada want to go in and fix the situation. So we say, absolutely not. The Haitian people have called for no intervention. The Haitian people have called for a transition government with all members of civil society to come together. And that's what we are calling for too. There can be no intervention anywhere by the U.S. government. It doesn't help. It only harms. I just want to say one more thing. You know, I'm looking over there at that obscenity, the wall. We have to call, if goods and services can go across borders, people must be allowed to go. People should not be commodified, but they must be allowed to go across borders. So we call for a world with no borders, a world with no U.S. intervention, a world with no imperialism, and a world where all people, all beings, whether it be insects, animals, grass, the air, can live and prosper. Sin fronteras.
Sin fronteras.
Okay, I'd like to invite Giovanna from ELCA Amparo up to talk to us.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. As I'm standing here, I want to reflect on the piece of the journey that I've been able to join, as well as that my colleagues have been able to join. It's been a really eye-opening experience in a way that affirms what we've always known, that the border wall is violence, that our policies are violent, and that our federal policy makers must do better. We have here a group of people that I believe should be able to call up their elected representatives, their policymakers, to make that difference. And are they listening to us today?
No.
It sure doesn't sound like it. Tomorrow is the International Migrant Day, celebrated across the globe, recognized by the United Nations, but also very many organizations here that take this moment to affirm and recognize the rights of migrants, and especially their dignity. There is no dignity in the border wall. There is no dignity in the policy we have in place right now that is an invisible border wall. Title 42. I've come a long way from Washington, D.C., where I have stood outside of the White House and stood outside of Congress to say the very same thing we are saying here today, that Title 42 must go. And in 5 days, or more or less 5 days, Title 42 will come down. Only an act of the Supreme Court can keep it in place. I want us to lift up our hearts to remind every judicial member of the Supreme Court that these are human lives, that human dignity matters, and that Title 42 must not be allowed to continue. At the end of the day, we need our federal government to recognize how blunt and ugly of a tool Title 42 is and other anti-asylum policies, to take a hard look at its role in instigating and propagating some of these violences across the world, and to revamp and retool its migration policy to be more humane, more dignified, and ultimately allows people to pursue a better life for themselves and their families. So thank you very much. I know this is a powerful witness, and I hope it reaches the ears, not just of people here, but also the Supreme Court and especially the federal government.
Okay, I'd like to invite Shanika and Eric from Anaclayan up for a couple of words.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
I'm Eric. I'm from the Malaya Movement, San Diego. And we're here on behalf of the Filipino people in solidarity with this pilgrimage along the border, the journey for justice, because we see that the struggle of the migrants here along the U.S. Mexican border is the same as the struggle of the people in the Philippines. Because we all have the same root cause for this forced migration, which is the imperialist attacks on the economies of our home countries, and that have caused the underdevelopment of our countries and made it so that livelihood back home is not possible. And so they take the dangerous, treacherous journey to try to make it over here just out of survival for their families. And to give a bit of a historical context to that for the Philippines, back in the 1970s, there was a dictatorship that lasted for 14 years in the Philippines, the Ferdinand Marcos dictatorship, which was a puppet of the U.S. He would not have been able to have that dictatorship if it was not for the backing of the United States. And in 1974, he instituted this labor export policy, which is a systematic export of migrant workers to countries all over the world, including right here in the U.S., for the purpose of trying to pull the economy out of its debt, actually, because of the corruption of the government there, stealing money from the people. And that policy has continued until this day for decades, and caused so much suffering for all the migrants who have had to sacrifice, be torn from their families, and work in exploited conditions in other countries. And for some people may not know that around 1/4 of the Filipino population in the U.S. is undocumented, and that's not widely publicized. But and here, just alone in San Diego, there's over 200,000 Filipinos who are here directly as a result of U.S. imperialism. Because, like my own father, who grew up poor in the Philippines due to the lack of livelihood, he was recruited to the U.S. Navy, and that's the foundation of the Filipino community here in San Diego. This dictatorship that I'm mentioning back in the 70s has reverberations up until today, because the current president of the Philippines is the son of that dictator, and he was put into power earlier this year through a rigged election. of the previous president Duterte, who was a notorious human rights violator and killed over 30,000 people within the span of 6 years in a fake drug war. And we're here to show international solidarity because we're also part of this international movement, the International Migrants Alliance, which is trying to unite migrants around the world, migrants and refugees around the world, to fight imperialism and to end this forced migration from our countries due to U.S. imperialism. And we want to commend everybody who joined the Journey for Justice. You all really went to the front lines to experience firsthand, the suffering that people are facing, and there's no clearer education than to meet the actual people and to see it firsthand. We also do similar trips, sending people to the Philippines on exposure trips, which is very difficult now because of the heightened state repression under the son of this dictator. And we're here hoping to build stronger relations with all of you so that we can build this stronger movement here in San Diego, in unity with all of you, until we defeat this imperialist system and replace it with one that is one without forced migration and one that is humane and just. So thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Shauna Colazo, and I'm a member of Anak Bayan San Diego, a local organization made up of Filipino youth fighting against U.S. imperialism and for a truly free and democratic Philippines. I want to congratulate you all for coming here, for coming to the last stop of your journey. Thank you so much for embarking on this very important journey. And I'm excited to get to know you all and hear about your experiences. Myself, as part of Anak Bayan, this past year, I also had the opportunity to go to Tijuana and visit a border crisis down there, which is a shelter for migrants and refugees. And I got to hear directly from the experiences of the refugees who are staying there. And there's this one woman from all the way from Haiti. She had to go through this arduous roundabout journey just to get to Tijuana, and she's been there for over a year now, and she's just stuck because she can't cross over to where her final destination, which would be here. And she had to learn Spanish. She didn't even know Spanish, and then when she comes here, or if she ever gets here, she has to learn English. And so it's really reflective of the crisis, right, of migrants and refugees, not only that come through Latin America, but all over the world, right? We know that imperialism is a global system, and so it is not just something that affects the people here, but all over the world. There's forced migration all over the world because of this brutal, this unjust, this corrupt system that is imperialism, with the U.S. As the number one imperialist system in the world. And so tomorrow is International Migrants Day. Thank you. And it is also at 7 a.m. there's the FIFA World Cup, right, in Qatar. And if you're familiar with that, they upped their recruitment of migrant workers 65% just to build that stadium, and thousands of migrant workers died building that stadium. And yeah, so it really shows how this system is global. It affects all of us, and that our struggles are really connected, right? I also had the opportunity to go to Seattle in October for the Assembly for the International Leagues of People's Struggle, which is the largest anti-imperialist international alliance in the world, and we protested against Google and Amazon there because the Amazon headquarters is there. You know, Jeff Bezos has these like billion-dollar glass balls that he built, and we protested outside of it. And it's all connected, right? These billionaires, how our government here prioritizes their interests, right? And also works with their different neo-colonies and colonies around the world to export labor here for cheap labor, not only to bring people here, but then also to exploit cheap labor in our own homelands, which is also what forces people out, because it's more of a livelihood, right? To go outside of your own country. And so us as Anak Bayan San Diego, as part of the International Leagues of People's Struggles, as part of International Migrants Alliance, are staunchly anti-imperialist. We cannot wait for the fall of imperialism. We have to work for it actively together, both on the local level here in San Diego, but then also nationally and even internationally. So thank you so much for being here. Let's expand our movement so that we can see the fall of imperialism, see a future where our people don't have to leave their own home countries, where livelihood is where we are, and we can really bloom where we are planted. So thank you so much.
Okay, we're close to the end here, and then we'll get on our march in a few minutes. But before we do that, I'd like to invite Sarah Towell from Witness at the Border to come up and say a couple of words, and following her, Josh Rubin will close our remarks here.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Towell. I stand here as an ally, as a member of the Witness at the Border leadership team, as a part of Cameroon Advocacy Network, which is part of Haitian Bridge Alliance. Thank you for remembering the ancestors. Thank you to our hosts in San Diego, and thank you to all the caravanners from far and wide, many of whom have been alongside Josh since Tornillo. I was originally drawn to the border, like many of us, because of kids in cages, because of family separation. I went to the border with the idea of witnessing what Trump had wrought and writing about it. And it only took me a minute to realize it wasn't him. Everything put in place for centuries, for decades, enabled him to, and here I'm going to age myself by referencing a film called Spinal Tap, to turn the volume up to 11. Unfortunately, Biden has not yet turned that volume down. And the volume I'm talking about is cruelty. Prevention through deterrence is deterrence through cruelty. The borders are cruel. Borders are violent. We've gone now from sea to shining sea. And what did we see? Cruelty every step of the way. But alongside that cruelty, we've also seen humanity. Humanity in the likes of all of you here. Now, when I realized this, I was ashamed. I was ashamed that in this 60-year-old body, I did not see that cruelty as I was growing up. I am an educator. I work with refugees. I'm an English as a second language teacher. I work with refugees. I did not know. I did not see that a carceral system imprisoning innocent people and separating families in 6 different ways, mind you, had grown up all around me, hiding in plain sight, and I did not see it. I did not realize that the shipping company, Amazon, that I use regularly, is in the business of deporting people. They are. It's in my book. So what I decided to do was to spend my pandemic peeling back the onion of what I call the many-headed hydra that is our immigration system, and bring those stories to people like me, white, privileged, compassionate, but unaware. Because I believe if they knew too, they would also be outraged. They would be as outraged as me. So the book is coming out next year. It's an attempt to take the discussion out of the academy because, let's face it, academic writing is boring. And to take it away from the policymakers who are making very bad choices and have been for 200 plus years. And to put it in the hands of the people who vote. So to take the stories from the borderlands, Gerline Joseph's story of coming down to take care of a few Haitians and that blossoming into the Haitian Bridge Alliance. The story of, who else did I mark here? Jennifer Harbury and her husband Bamaka, who lost his life to the Guatemalan genocide. And she eventually uncovered CIA involvement. The story of Anastasio Hernandez Rojas, who lost his life right over there when 17 members of the U.S. federal government tortured him to death while he was hogtied. And nobody has ever been made accountable for that crime. So these are stories I'm writing in collaboration with every hero and humanitarian that is trying to show us every day that there is a better way, that we can welcome with dignity and that we must welcome with dignity. It's called Crossing the Line, Finding America in the Borderlands. It charts my journey from outrage over family separation to activism by joining Witness at the Border, to abolition, and by abolition I don't just mean the jails, but the wall and the nation state system, which has created this whole mess in the first place. I hope that it will become our manual. This is a big pipe dream, but I'm going to say it out here in the universe to hopefully manifest it. I hope it will be the manual for our movement, and that you'll help me spread it far and wide. Proceeds will not go in my pocket. And it will be hopefully the way we can get the stories across that checkpoint and into the northern states where people like us really should know better. And when they do, they'll be outraged too. So thank you very much for your welcome and for your solidarity. And I'm proud to be part of you. Please pick up a flyer.
Okay, I'm going to invite Josh Rubin up to make our final remarks this morning. And thank you all for coming out. Really, really appreciate it. It's heartwarming after driving 2,200 miles and pretty much leaving all of our energy along the way. So thank you for coming out and giving us some new energy here this morning.
Thank you, Carla. I want to thank everyone here, particularly the local organizations for greeting us as allies. I'm proud, and I think we're all proud of the fact that we have an alliance here. We started this journey, but the journey started before that, and it's going to go on after that. Obviously, this is something that's going to go on for a real long time. I don't want to compare the suffering that people on this trip and myself are feeling after this trip with the struggle of people who are making their way from the places they were born to this boundary that we spent a few weeks going across. It's not the same thing, but it's suffering nonetheless. I want to say that I agree with the policy analysis that we've heard here. I didn't hear a thing I disagreed with. The ironies of systems built on the glorification of greed go right to my heart. It's where I come from. Yes, we're against the wall. One of the things that we're doing right now, if I want to say something positive, which is hard to do after what we've seen, is that the walls between us are coming down. It's been a hard job to do that. It's good that we share our goals. The wall over there is not coming down, and here's why it hurts so much. It hurts so much because not just what we saw, but what we think now, what we see now when we close our eyes, and what we see are the people that we left behind. We see them. We know that they're still there. And that's why we're witnesses. We're willing to take on some of their suffering and carry it with us for the rest of our lives. I don't know what good it'll do, but it feels good that we stand here together. I'm grateful for that. I'm comforted by that. So we're witness at the border. We started at child detention centers, and now we're here standing with you, and we're going to walk to the wall. And this won't be the last time we walk to that damn wall. It's not going to come down next week. But we'll go on. We have La Lucha, right? Right? And that'll just have to sustain us until we can walk and see no more. Thank you.
Okay, so now we are going to Nanzi. Nanzi, where are you? There you are. Do you want to say anything about where we're walking and give some instructions? That would be awesome.
Hi, my name is Nancy. Can you hear me? Everybody can hear me? I'm a Borderlands. I grew up in these borders. I grew up here. I grew up seeing how the borders start militarized every year, just decade. And at the beginning, I didn't understand why. And I had to go back to history to understand why migration from Central America to Latin America coming to here. And I find out that the problem is the U.S. and it's us, and we have the power, and we have everything to stop this, and hopefully we can do it. And then those one who were in the journal, what you're gonna see today, it has nothing to do with what we saw in Yuma. You guys are in Yuma and Texas, in all those places. Here, you're not gonna see migrants coming to the borders. Why? Because the Mexican government in Tijuana is preventing them to get close to the border. So you're not gonna see none of that stuff. You're not gonna see buses. You're gonna see shopping malls, a shopping center, people buying stuff, and the border behind it like nothing is happening. It's just another day to get money. So it's gonna be so different. And this is gonna tell you the perspective that what the schools create is just power and money. And it doesn't matter who we need to kill or not to kill. So the solutions are not the borders. So we're gonna be crossing across the street. There's a stop sign over here in the corner. We're gonna go across the street. We're gonna pass the rose stores, and behind we're gonna walk to my left. And then you're gonna see the old border and the new border, the Trump border and the old border. And then you're gonna see border patrol. And you're gonna see a bunch of people just happy, smiling with cars, shopping for the Christmas, when we know on the other side there's a crisis. And then we're gonna get to the new Chaparral border entrance that is used right now for asking for asylum. That's not used for the general people right now. I don't know, maybe we're gonna see people coming through, maybe we're not gonna see it. And then we're gonna cross over the bridge so you can see the general border where people is coming to. But so you can see the difference and why it's important this journey. For me, it wasn't overnight. For me, it was like, I don't believe this. I had to see it in order to believe it. And now with this information that we are getting, what are we gonna do with the information? Are we just gonna keep it ourselves? No. So this is the real work starts after this. We need to get together. We need to work with people who are writing policies to make sure all of this thing changes. So the walking is gonna be at like 45 minutes. And remember, you're not gonna expect to see migrants coming, buses. None of those stuff is gonna be able. But you're gonna able to touch it. You're able to touch the border. You're able to see it. So I don't know if you have any questions before we start. And then I think you can leave your cars here and come back this way.
Okay, just one last announcement before we go out. We're going to come back here after we do this march and we'll talk about the plans for this afternoon. For those of you who are planning to cross the border with us, we need to give some updates. I'm not going to do that now. We'll do that when we get back.
Take some And posters. I just want to say one last word of thanks to Carla and Julie who organized this whole thing. They've been tireless and heroic. Here.
Hip hip hooray!
And I want to thank the young people that are here today. That just fills my heart to know that you are coming on. So thank you.
Free posters. Take some posters.
Right? They are beautiful. Where is Thank you. Yeah. So it's really a beautiful, quilt. There's four of them, and so you get a piece of little piece of anything.
Yes, absolutely. Do you want to take one of these two?
Oh, this is okay.
Okay, great.
Please take, whatever.
Take some posters.
This is a campaign that's still going.
So, just give her a second to her now. Let me know when you're done. I'll do it real quick. Okay, yeah. So now just look at when I get in. No, that's fine. Come, Mark, quick! Mark, get in the picture! Come in! That's a video. Hey, if I can get this up. Hey, great. Sí se puede. Sí se puede. Okay, when I raise my hand, aquí nos quedamos. Sí se puede. Sí se puede. Beautiful. Me manda una foto. Sí. Everybody out. Yes. Okay. So, follow Nancy. Oh, so if we can do a line, and then just follow me, and then we're just gonna go across the street, okay? Yep. So everybody behind. ¿Dónde el barrio? You wanna go behind? What happened to the posters you had? I gave to here. No, I stopped in LA. So, just go behind each other, and then we're ready. We're ready. All right.
Don't worry, they'll come.
We're not going to. We do. Where's Nara? I know you're in front. You might have to do like. You can get yourself La loba se perdió. La loba. Que ese ya vea Pablo y a Pablo ya no. When I go out to visit the workers, somebody do a lot of like my, like the green and civic or fields and things like that. So like, because when I'm home, people be with me. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been to the border. Okay. No problem. Yeah.
Thank you for all those that are joining. We are walking along the U.S. Mexico border at the Plaza de las Americas shopping retail, which directly faces the border wall. It's an interesting end to the Justice Journey Caravan that came from Texas. This entire time they have been um, really being able to go up to the border and see and hear stories from migrants firsthand. The unique and really sad part about this experience and ending here is that we're going to the border wall that has been created, and here they don't get to see migrant stories as the, you know, way that they've been coordinated through the Mexican government is a lack of access to the direct border. As Title 42 is getting ready to be uplifted in the next couple of days, we will be witnessing a lot of people coming through. And as you can see here, we're directly in a parking lot of this shopping center that is right up against the border. And for here, and this side is business as usual. It's consumerism, it's shopping, while right along the other side, we have devastating migrant conditions of more than, almost 5,000 families, between 3,000 to 5,000 families that have been stuck for the border for over 2+ years. So today's goal was to bring more visibility to the issue, to understand the complexity of family separation. It's not just about the children themselves, but it's about, what's happening to the families now, and that this, it's far from over. As we are getting ready for Title 42 to uplift, we're going to have an influx of families that we have to be ready to prepare to serve, and to also continue to do the work around family reunification. So we're thankful for all of you that are watching. We hope that you can continue to spread the message and deepen the understanding of the issues that we're dealing with, and to hold our congressional members accountable for action. We need action now. Uplifting of the borders is not, it's just lifting the border, but it's actually changing policy to be able to have working conditions, livable conditions once they arrive here. So this is the border. These metal brackets are what creates the separation between our countries. Right over this area, it's right up above, right near the area where the families are being kept in Tijuana. And you can see the 2 layers of border. So this is the original border. Then we have another border on the other end. And that red house, that building up there, that is Tijuana. That is the area where a lot of the migrants are being kept, in that region close to Chaparral. So thank you for joining us, and ask questions. There's no incorrect question. This is a complex issue that we have also learned and developed a lot as we've been going through this whole process. So please stay in touch and, uncage, reunify, and heal our children.
Thank you for joining us. And we are here, the Caravan for the Children. We're here in solidarity with the Witness to the Border and the Journey for Justice. As they made their journey through, starting in Texas, and they're ending their journey here. They've traveled along the borderlands and seen and, experienced life in the borderlands. And we are here coming to support and just continue to raise the issue and the need to end forced migration, to end family separation, and to, as the Caravan started and continues, to focus on uncaging and reunifying the children. And so we, as we walk along the border here, you see the border here, we are joined by many different groups here and many different humanitarians, and that are also fighting this fight. So thank you.
It could be in English or Spanish. Whenever you're ready, just let me know.
Somos un pueblo
sin fronteras.
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 Stand up, fight back. Stand up, fight back.
Human rights are under attack. What do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
Human rights are under attack. What do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
Hello, how you doing?
What?
And you can see the difference here. It has to do with any president. We gotta put some of that on Obama too, though.
What am I gonna go over there for? What am I gonna do? What's the plan?
Something? Yes. What do you want me to say?
Whatever you'd like. Or like streaming to our audiences from
Okay. So my name is Nancy. I'm Nancy Muro. I'm a Borderlands from City. I grew up in this border between San Diego and Tijuana. I joined the Caravan because I had to see it with my own eyes. The difference. Growing up in this border, to see this be militarized is not okay. And then, believe it or not, the difference between to El Paso to Eagle Pass is extremely different because in those cities are small cities with nobody, and it's hard to see what's going on with their gente. And just we have to go back to history. We need to learn from history, and we need to call our youth because this is our future. We need to change this, and hopefully there's more people coming and joining, and really to see with our eyes and be witness of what's going on. Thank you. Thank you. Just continue to the right.
What we have to do is circle back to the park.
Correct.
Okay?
Yeah, but
I'm not saying we do it now. That's the goal.
Yeah.
We're done. So we go back to where we live.
Yeah, we are just moving. It's going to be 11 years. We have a crazy
Multiple different fronts.
Yeah, I was like, look at this. I go to the labor thing, there you are. English, there you are. School stuff. That's right. All the way. I was like, who keeps in mind with
Yeah, now we have to build.
Yes.
Really quick. In California or in Arizona?
This is actually a good one.
Stop, like the 90s. Would any of you like to say anything? We're like live streaming to our audiences. We're from Caravan with the children.
Oh, okay.
Yeah?
Yeah, you guys want to speak to the live stream?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
we're here on behalf of the International Migrants Alliance, really in solidarity with the struggle of the migrants at the border. On behalf also of the Filipino people, because our struggle is the same against U.S. imperialism, which is the root cause of people having to leave their homelands and, risk their lives and be separated from their families just because they're not able to have a livelihood back home. They're due to the economic attacks and economic policies of the U.S. government and U.S. business interests. And we're here in solidarity because of the violence that the migrants face once they do get to this point. And it's not a pretty picture even for those who are able to make it through here, because they only come here to become exploited, and the only ones who benefit from it are the ruling class of this country and the big corporations that really caused the problems in their home countries in the first place. So, yeah, we're here from San Diego, and people are here from all over the country. So, thank you.
thank you. Would you like to say anything? Okay.
Hi, I'm a member of Anakbayan San Diego, which is a local organization made of Filipino youth fighting against imperialism. And, we're really here to expose that this is a whole system, right? Like, this border did not it existed before Trump. Obama, when he was president, he deported more people than ever before. He really set up the system for Trump to escalate the deportations and the crisis at the border. And you know, Biden, a Democrat president, he closed down Friendship Park, which is really sad because Friendship Park was just a place where you know, people across the different borders could just touch pinkies, you know, not even really hug each other. It was such a simple already, like it was already a sad state of affairs, but he closed it down and made it impossible for families to even just see each other up close. So we're here to really say that it's a whole system and not just Democrat versus Republican issue, but yeah.
Thank you.
So I don't want to be in the parking lot because I don't know if you noticed 2 police officers. And then if we're here,
well,
we're not
I'll
going to
talk
say
with
nothing
people
to
maybe
us.
when we get back to
This
the
is
park.
new. This is the new entrance, El Chaparral. But it's not used right now for general public. It's only used for people who ask for asylum. They're processed through here. So you're not going to see so much coming and going in. And also, Benjamin, I wanted you guys to hear this story. Because somebody in 2010, maybe 200 meters from here?
Yeah, about 200, yeah.
200 meters was Benjamin knows information. So you can tell. There's so many stories of migrants that's not being told. So many people have died and nobody know about it. But this case is really important because the community has come together to ask for justice. And then I will give you the work to do.
Yeah, so, you know, in 2010, on May 28, Anastasio Hernandez Rojas, a, you know, Mexican father of 5, lived in San Diego majority of his life, was pulled over by a highway patrol. He was transferred over to Border Patrol. Then they deported him. On his way back, he was beaten. He was trying to get back to his family, and he was arrested and beaten, tortured to death here along this border as a matter of U.S. Border Patrol policy of really dehumanizing and attacking Mexican working class families. And for 10 years, his family has demanded justice, that somebody be held accountable for his death, that it's impossible for so many people to have witnessed the level of inhumanity, the level of aggression, of torture, of murder. And eyewitnesses actually took video footage of this, presented it in the court of law, and yet a U.S. Justice system was unable to even prosecute a single Border Patrol agent in his death. His case is now currently in front of the Inter-American Commission for Human Rights and was heard just this past month. And we continue to demand justice because there is impunity that has continued to allow this agency of Border Patrol to continue to attack and kill Mexicans and kill other migrants as a matter of U.S. state policy, a white nationalist policy that continues to attack, working class people. And this border wall was built specifically for that, with that objective, with the objective of also creating profit and turning a profit, building these giant, huge walls that we see behind us. So we continue to denounce that. To denounce that act of act of homicide that was carried out in the name of so-called border security, and we denounce all those measures that continue to build border walls to keep out the very same people from which this land was stolen.
I don't know if you're aware, but there's a former Border Patrol woman who gave up her job because she could not stand what was happening.
Yeah, she's part of those coalition networks.
Yeah, she's part of the coalition to give testimony.
Yeah, good.
And I've met her, but she said,
Border Patrol culture that exists.
She said there's never been a successful prosecution of a U.S. border agent
That's
to
right.
this ever.
That's right.
To this day.
Because then that's what impunity is what creates and reproduces this culture of
They
violence.
get away
along this
with
border.
Well, like the police.
Yeah.
Right. Well, with that, I'll turn it over back to Nancy.
So, and then I also want to learn a little bit about the story documented of Anastasio. There is a mural at Chicano Park. Welcome you all to go see it. It's a beautiful mural by leading community artists that want to document and celebrate his life. And they continue to do fundraising and bring the story of his life to the public.
Yeah.
So check it out. Yes.
Viva Anastasio.
Viva Anastasio.
So, somebody want to say something else?
I was just going to say his name.
Anastasio.
Presente.
Yes. Say his name. Presente. We want justice.
Justicia para Anastasio.
Justicia para Anastasio.
We want justice.
Justicia para Anastasio.
Justicia para Anastasio.
We want justice. You.
We want
justice.
Justicia para Anastasio. Presente.
Presente. We want justice. You.
We want justice.
So behind the entrance, there was an encampment almost for a year. And then in February of this year was removed by the Mexican government. And then many of those folks looking for a better life to survive had to move to shelters. And in Tijuana, there's an article this morning. Supposedly there's no charge for us for asylum. But the Mexican government in Mexico has been pushed and charged the gente moving because they want to survive. And they want to survive. That's the reason they're moving. So right now, it's really critical that we pay attention. We're gonna walk. Listen to me, because we had 2 police officers. In order to make this movement today, we didn't ask for permissions. Good. So we're trying to do everything as we supposedly, because we don't want any problems. So we're gonna walk in front of the entrance to the sidewalk. You're gonna able to see it. You can take pictures, but let's move forward and continue. When we get to the stop sign or light, we're gonna go to the left, and then we're gonna same the same walk, but in front of the outlets. Right now we're behind the outlets, and you need so many people gather attention. Now we're gonna walk in front of the outlets through the sidewalk. And the reason I'm asking this, yes, we can fight those police, but that's our battle? No, that's not our battle. Let's focus on something bigger. So make sure we're gonna walk through the sidewalk in front. So we're going back to the park where so many of you leave your cars. Okay, so let's walk this direction in front of the entrance, and you can see. And remember, this one is not used right now for general public. Okay? So if somebody want to start guiding us on the front, one of the banners, you guys can be in the front.
Yeah, this whole border issue for me is really triggering. None of this existed. All of this.
You have to keep moving.
And that's the anger, because they're not going to be able to.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, no money to
Say,
fix
this
our
was in here, what, 10 years ago?
Yes.
Let's
Let's go straight in the sidewalk to the light, and then we're gonna turn left, and then we're walking inside the sidewalk.
Oh.
Under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When migrant rights are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
When migrant rights are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
Raza, sí.
Migrando.
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 We didn't cross the border!
Border crossed us.
We didn't cross the border!
The border crossed us.
We didn't cross the border!
The border crossed us.
We didn't cross the border!
The border crossed us.
Esta es nuestra tierra!
Esta es nuestra lucha.
Esta es nuestra tierra!
Esta es nuestra lucha.
Esta es nuestra tierra!
Esta es nuestra lucha. La misma porquería. La misma porquería. La misma porquería. La misma porquería.
¡Si gobierno, pues estamos bien! ¡No estamos bien! ¡Si gobierno, pues estamos bien! ¡El norte sur!
Del este a oeste.
¡Queremos esta lucha!
Cueste lo que cueste.
¡El norte Porquería. No peace. No racist. Police. No justice. No peace. No racist. Police. vencido! ¡El pueblo callado! ¡Jamás será escuchado! ¡El pueblo unido! ¡Jamás será vencido! ¡Ganaremos esta lucha! ¡Pase lo que pase!
We didn't cross the border. We didn't cross the border.
The border crossed us!
We didn't cross the border.
The border crossed us!
Esta es mi tierra.
Esta es mi lucha.
Esta es mi tierra.
Esta es mi lucha.
Abajo con el muro de la muerte.
¡Abajo!
Abajo con la migra asesina.
¡Abajo!
Esta es mi tierra.
Esta es mi lucha.
Esta es mi tierra.
Esta es mi lucha.
Well, this concludes our live streaming of today's action. We will be also coming back to the border and to see tonight's action at Ped East. Stay tuned. Follow Justice, Migrant Justice. Is that what it's?
Journey for Justice. A witness at the border.
Witness at the Border is who we want to follow. We thank you for joining us. Please stay in tune. Please be aware. The coming days are going to be very telling in how we welcome refugees, and how we continue to push our government to create welcoming policies and to take action and do reform. We must have accessible platforms to bring in our migrants, and to make sure that we also continue to bring visibility around the children that have been separated. There are still children separated from families. We have to remember, again, there's over, between zero tolerance and children separated because of Title 42. We have a group of over 25,000 probably children that have been separated. Family separation is an issue, and we all should bear witness to it. We should all also demand that our congressional members act
and put the resources in place to make sure that we are addressing the problem from the root. Not only do we have to reunite these children, we also are responsible for their long-term care, for the horrendous situations that we put them through under our government's name. So, en la lucha seguimos adelante. Uncage, reunify, and heal. Stay tuned for our next action. Thank you. Bye.